Like it does seem like we're headed into a recession here in 2023.
Now cash is relatively attractive.
As we enter 2023, things are looking pretty shaky for the global economy. We've been seeing warning signs for a while now, and it seems like we're on the brink of a major recession. Even Elon Musk is among the big names sounding the alarm bells about what is coming.
Well, I think it's more like it does seem like we're headed into a recession here in 2023. The magnitude of that recession is debatable, but I think it's at least a light to moderate recession. Potentially, it's on the order of 2009. So I think it's wise to kind of like prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Don't get too adventurous. Like watch out for margin debt. Like I would really advise people to not have margin debt in a volatile stock market. And from a cash standpoint, keep powder dry.
There are a lot of factors at play here, and COVID-19 is just one of them. During the COVID-19 pandemic, supply chain issues have been particularly acute due to lockdowns, travel restrictions, and social distancing measures. Many factories and production facilities around the world had to shut down or reduce their output, causing a shortage of raw materials and finished products. Furthermore, disruptions in transportation and logistics have made it difficult to move goods from one location to another. For example, with reduced air travel, there has been a significant decrease in air cargo capacity, resulting in higher shipping costs and longer delivery times. These supply chain disruptions have had far-reaching effects on various industries, including manufacturing, retail, and hospitality. Companies have had to adjust their operations, find alternative suppliers, and increase inventory levels to cope with these disruptions. However, these solutions have come at a cost, leading to higher prices for consumers and reduced profit margins for businesses. But there are other things going on also which are making everything even worse. Inflation is rising, partially because of all the supply chain problems and the rising cost of energy. And when prices go up, everybody feels the pinch, from regular folks to business owners.
I mean, these things happen over and over again. We're now in the 12th and a half cycle. You know, these cycles, you know how the cycles work. You're 12 and a half cycles since 1945. 1945 was the New World Order, you know, new monetary system. And you know what happens. So let me take you through it quickly. You get a funky economy, weakness, and so on. So what we had, of course, in 2020 with a combination of COVID, and then also the move from the right to the left. There was a distribution of wealth. And so how did you do that? The government had to send out a bunch of checks.
Yep.
And the Federal Reserve, where did the government get the money from? The Federal Reserve lent it. So we have an imbalance. And of course, that put a lot of money in the system. You've got the demand, you've got the cycle, classic cycle, right? Stimulation, credit becomes debt, then you have inflation, then you have a tightness of monetary policy. And so where are we? So we now in a classic spot where we've got a relatively high real interest rate. Real interest rates went from minus 175 basis points to plus 175 basis points, right? You've got a cash rate that's relatively high. Cash used to be trashy. Cash is pretty attractive now. You've got an inverted yield curve.
Say that again. You said trash is now more attractive?
Cash
is trash, is what you used to say.
Yes, cash was negative,
right?
1.5%, 2% real rates. Terrible. Now cash is relatively attractive.
On top of all of this, geopolitical tensions are playing an important part in the economic specter. Trade disputes and conflicts all over the place are making the future rather unpredictable. Here, the war in Ukraine is a relevant factor. President Joe Biden just held a speech in Warsaw, Poland, where he promised that the US and its allies would keep standing with Ukraine against Russia's invasion. He is not going to give up the Ukrainian people. Geopolitical tensions are bad news for businesses trying to plan ahead and for investors trying to make the right choices.
If there's like mass panic in the stock market, then you got to really be careful about margin debt. So, but I mean, this is just as we know, the economy is cyclic. So, we're somewhat overdue for a recession. And my best guess is that we have sort of stormy times for a year to a year and a half, and then things start to dawn breaks roughly in Q2 24. If I were to get, that's like my best guess. Recessions don't like booms don't last forever, but neither do recessions.
A recent study presented by the World Bank suggests that the global economy could be heading towards a recession in 2023, with financial crisis expected in emerging markets and developing economies. This is due to central banks worldwide raising interest rates and simultaneously to combat inflation. The report indicates that central banks are likely to continue raising interest rates in the coming year. Although this may aid in controlling inflation, it may not be sufficient to bring it back to the pre-pandemic levels. It is expected that global monetary policy rates will rise to almost 4% by 2023, which is more than 2 percentage points higher than the average in 2021. This could have severe consequences for the economy. The World Bank's latest survey, conducted in 2023, presents a bleak outlook for the global economy, with nearly 20% of respondents indicating that a global recession is highly probable. The survey included the opinions and expectations of leading chief economists from both the public and private sector. This figure is double that of the previous survey conducted in September of 2022. However, the situation varies depending on where you are in the world. According to the World Economic Forum's Chief Economists Outlook Survey, most top economists anticipate moderate to strong growth in the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. However, over 90% of those surveyed anticipate weak growth in the United States and Europe. The survey collected insights and forecasts from leading economists from the public and private sector in November and December of 2022. However, since then, the World Bank has predicted a global recession for 2023, with projected GDP growth of only 1.7%. Especially in the US, Jerome Powell and the Fed are under lots of pressure. However, Charlie Munger, the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, is still positive towards the central bank. And when Charlie Munger speaks, you better listen.
I basically like the existence of the Fed. I think in a world of fiat currencies, we need wise central banks. And if you look at Japan today, you would find that the central bank has made our central bank look like a little mouse that hardly tries to do anything. So we've learned that central banks can be really important. You can push them to great excess if you have to and you're in enough trouble. So by and large, I like central bankers. And by and large, I hate Bitcoin promoters.
When you say that we look like a mouse compared to Japan's central bank, is that a good thing? I mean, look what's happened to Japan.
Yeah, it's a good thing we haven't had to try it. But if we get in the kind of trouble Japan was in, of course we'll do the same damn thing.
Cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, are being considered as a tool to fight inflation due to their limited supply. Unlike fiat currencies, like US dollars, that can be created by central banks, Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million coins, released in circulations at a fixed rate. Despite being seen as an inflation hedge by some, Charlie Munger is a vocal critic of cryptocurrencies, deeming them nauseous poison and not in the interest of civilization.
It pains me that in my own country, I see people that were once regarded as very reputable people helping these things exist, promoting their use and so forth. This is a very, very bad thing. The country did not need a currency that's good for kidnappers and so on. I think they actually mean well, though that you're seeing a lot of delusion. It's partly fraud and partly delusion. That's a bad combination. I don't like either fraud or delusion. And the delusion may be more extreme than the fraud.
Delusion, how so?
Nobody's going to bet a new thing that every 12-year-old kid can be a billionaire or something. He just calls it Munger coin. He starts trading it or something. It's crazy. It's demented.
The bottom line is, things are likely to get worse before they get any better. We're probably going to see an increase in businesses failing, increasing employment rates, and credit getting really tight. Governments and banks are going to have to act fast if they want to keep everything from going completely off the rails. Do you think a big recession will hit the global economy in 2023? Comment below what you think. We'll see you in the next video.